and welcome to the one, the big one, the only one that really matters during the season when it comes to these previews. It's Ohio State. It's the team up north. And we're thankful you decided to click on this video. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up, like the video if you don't mind. Let us know what you think about what we think down in the comments section below. And please, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Only 85 subscriptions away from our goal of 5,000 by the end of the year. Chris, we are marching towards that. Who knows? Maybe this video will get us there.
It should. Because if there's anything that we can all agree about, it's our hate for the skunk weasels.
Yeah, and they hate us right back. So if you're one of them people, you can subscribe to the channel as well. We appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we'd love to have you in here next week after we whoop that skunk butt.
Okay, Chris is fired up. Let's dive right into it, everybody. No one is going to preview the game quite like this. We've got stats, we've got history, we've got breakdowns. Plus, we have an interview with a Michigan podcaster who we're bringing on to get his insights. And then, of course, at the end, we will give you our predictions. So, that being said, Chris, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Of course, the game will kick off this Saturday at 12 noon on Fox. If you don't like Gus Johnson over exaggerating every single call in the first half, every single play, that is, don't worry. You can turn the volume off. And right here on our YouTube channel, Corey will be calling the game for you as well. You can join in the chat. Have a great time in the chat with Corey and everybody else who will be here as well, watching the game and enjoying some Buckeye, and I'm assuming some skunk weasels, as you like to call them, banter back and forth as well. Chris and I, we're going to be in Bucyrus, Ohio, at Baker's Pizza, enjoying the game watch there between with the OHIO podcast, Vassals 2.0, and Baker's Pizza, the joint Buckeye Watch game watch there from Baker's. Looking forward to that. And then if you see this and you're like, hey, I haven't got an invitation, here's your invitation. We'd love to meet you. Come to Baker's Pizza, Bucyrus, Ohio. Here's the deal. Doors open at 11. You need to be there early. The back room is going to fill up very, very fast. All right, Chris, here we go. If you don't mind, we're ready to jump into the numbers.
I don't mind, Eric. I don't mind one little bit.
Okay, here they are. Michigan leads the all-time series 62 to 51 and 6. They've won the last 4 in a row, including the last win, including last year in 2024 in Columbus, Ohio, 13 to 10. Last time we traveled up to Ann Arbor 2 years ago in 2023, it was a 30 to 24 loss for the Buckeyes. Last win over Michigan, well, that was in 2019. That was Ryan Day's first year, 56 to 27. Little side note, they didn't play in 2020. Little thing called COVID, and dodging Ohio State happened. Largest margin of victory was in 1935. Largest margin of victory, yes, was in 1935. Only 38 points, 38 to nothing. Largest margin of defeat happened in 1902, 0 to 86. Yep, they count it. Ohio State's longest win streak over the team up north is 8. Happened in 2012 through 2019 between one Urban Meyer and Ryan Day. Michigan's longest win streak over Ohio State happened in 1901 to 1909. That was 9 in a row for them. Ryan Day's record against Michigan is only 1-4. Sherrone Moore's record against Ohio State is 2-0. Looking at the last 10, well, there's a lot more red than there is maize and blue, but those last 4 are definitely stuck in everybody's crawl here lately. We'll go over those quickly. 2021, 42-27. 2022, 45-23. 2023, 30-24. And then 2024, 13-10 were those scores. Time to reverse course and get back on track. Chris, your thoughts on a little bit of by the numbers and history there between Ohio State and the team up north in the last 10 years and overall historically?
These guys have not been any good since 1948, Eric. And I'm a little irritated that you give them credit for these last 4 wins I understand the cowards at the NCAA give them credit. Those bought and paid for officials at the NCAA give them credit. But Eric, I refuse to give them credit for all the last four. Did they win last year? Absolutely. Ryan Day peed himself. Peed right down his leg. Things are different now. I refuse to give them credit for any year before that because let's face it, if it wasn't for Connor Stalions, at least 2, if not 3 of those don't happen.
I agree, but it is an asterisk in history.
It is. It is. And I'll tell you what, the sad thing is, this was a once great rivalry. I hope it can be again. But every time I hear you say Sherrone Moore 2-0, no, he's 1-1. Or 1-0. I'll give him 1-0. He cheated the year before. Just like the rest of them.
Well, let's dive into the tail of the tape, shall we, Chris?
Yes, sir. So, you look at this, Eric, and this looks like a very lopsided game. Even though some of the numbers are closer than you would think, looks like a lopsided game. Ohio State, 37.9 points per game. You got Michigan scoring 29.27 points per game. You've got 170 rushing yards to 223 for Michigan. That's one of the 2 spots they have an advantage. 270 passing yards a game to 196.9. And Eric, that's really ballooned up over the last couple weeks because this was a team that was barely averaging 150 at midseason. 440 yards a game total offense for the Ohio State Buckeyes. 420 yards per game for the Loserines. You've got 55.8 third down conversion rating for Ohio State. A very good 48.6 for the Skunk Weasels. You can't deny that. 89.8 conversion rate in the red zone for Ohio State. 78.3 for the Weasels. Defensively, this is dominance, man. Ohio State only giving up 7.64 points per game. Michigan is giving up more than 10 points more than that at 17.91 per game. And that's still not a bad number, Eric. Ohio State giving up 80 yards rushing per game. Michigan 94. Ohio State giving up 131 passing yards per game. That team up north, 208. Total yards per game allowed. Ohio State nearly 100 yards less at 211.2 as opposed to their 302.5. Third down, teams do not often convert third downs against Ohio State, only giving up a 28.4 third down conversion rate. The other guys, they're giving up 35.8. Now, the one thing I will say is they are a very opportunistic team, Eric, and they do get turnovers. They're averaging about 1.5 turnovers a game to Ohio State's 0.9. So that's one of the big things that in this game, if anything can keep this game close, it's turnovers.
The interesting stat there to me, and it's the one thing that they can hang their hat on, it's the one thing they've been hanging their hat on for a while, and that's running the football.
But they're at least down their key back. Their number 2 back is coming in Gimpy. They're going to be on their third string back.
I don't need to remind anybody about the last name Biaka Batuka, do I?
No, not one bit.
Okay. So here's the thing. We say throw the records out. They don't mean anything in a game like this. So why did we just do that? I think there is something to glean from this. And that is the fact that if you look at last year's game, minus the fact that the previous 3, there was a significant advantage offensively for that team up north.
Yes.
Just look at the numbers, right? And it obviously took a slight dip at the end of 2023 without Connor Stalions there, right? But they still won the line of scrimmage in that game.
Yes,
they still won, and they were winning the line of scrimmage, albeit, with an advantage in the previous 2. Last season, they did not. Last season, a 13-10 game. They came in, they were extremely limited passing the football, to
Yes.
say the least. But they still managed to pull Ryan Day into the style of game, the only style of game that they could win. And we've been talking about it all along.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, this was going to boil down to one thing and one thing only: the aggression of Ryan Day. If he's aggressive and he has all the tools at his disposal offensively, I just cannot think of a way Michigan wins this game unless they drag him back into the muck and mire. The weather's bad. We can't throw the football, and we have to beat them at their game again. And we've been saying it for years now, and it's true. Ever since Urban Meyer, at the end of Urban Meyer, Ohio State's built to win national championships. Michigan is built to beat Ohio State.
And that's a fair assessment. That is a fair assessment, Eric. But at the same time, I think this is a different Ryan Day. I think there's an anger about him. I think there's a swagger about him. I don't think he's going to allow himself to get pulled into that game because let's face it, I will hang my hat on this till the day I die. Michigan has not beaten Ohio State the last 4 years. Connor Stalions beat him 3 years, and Ryan Day beat him the fourth.
Connor wasn't there at the end of that third one.
But his paperwork was.
I agreed, and that's why I said that, because I knew you were good there. Is it just as simple as this comes down to Ryan Day?
It really is. This is a mindset. This is a mindset that Ryan Day himself has to have. It's a mindset he has to instill in his fellow coaches, which we know at least 3 of them there already have that mindset, Eric. Because Hartline, Laurinaitis, and Walton, they've all been a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that mindset. They know what needs to be done. Ryan Day has to have that mindset. The coaches have to have that mindset. And they have to instill that mindset in every player who did not grow up a part of this rivalry. And for the ones that did, give them a reminder. Because the talent is lopsided. Make no mistake. The talent is way lopsided in favor of Ohio State. Not to say that Michigan has no talent. But I will say this. Ohio State has more, and some of Michigan's very, very good talent is banged up.
They are, yeah.
And so are some of Ohio State's. But, we know things that at least one of those people is going to be back for sure.
Right.
And the other is a probable.
On Tuesday's press conference, Ryan Day mentioned 3 players on the offensive side of the ball. He mentioned, obviously, Underwood. He mentioned Marshall, so they think Marshall's going to play. And then he mentioned Andrew Marsh, the wide receiver. Interesting enough that he went there first on their offense, because that means I think he's looking at this from a defensive perspective a little bit too, which is unique for Ryan Day. And I had a great conversation with Knoxville Nate. You can check out that video. It was posted earlier today. And by the way, it'll be at the end of this video. You can click on it as well. But he agreed. We both agreed. The X factor in this football game, outside of the aggression of Ryan Day, is Matt Patricia.
Absolutely. And Eric, I'll tell you, the guy is a mad scientist. You just let him, I say you just let him cook. You let him have fun playing with all the toys that he has at his disposal. Because I'll tell you what, a freshman quarterback in college is not going to be able to handle what Matt Patricia can throw at him, given the toys that he has, if we just stay out of his way. He'll scheme up things that this kid's never seen, heard of, and maybe not see at the next level if he gets there. He is that good of a defensive coordinator. But that being said, we have to be willing to take chances. And you cannot be afraid. That's the big thing in this game. You cannot be afraid. You have to be willing to let it all hang out. You have to go out there and say, I'm going to give 110% on offense and 200% on defense. And and we're just gonna go out there and play psycho ball. You cannot, not to sound like Musburger, but we can't hold anything back, Eric. It's got to be just balls to the wall football, aggressive, hard hitting, in your face. Don't be afraid to blitz. Don't be afraid. Take chances. You're going to have to take chances. Because I'll tell you what, Sharon Moore's going to take chances. He looks at this as nothing to lose. You've got to match that energy.
Mm-hmm. There's something for him in this team to lose, and that is the fact that if they do not win this game, they will fall to 9-3 and more than likely be eliminated from the college football playoff. They're not going to put a 9-3 Michigan in over a 11-1 or 11-2, even if they don't win the Big 12 championship, BYU. They're not going to put them in over a fourth team from the SEC, maybe even a fifth team from the SEC. You got several teams in the SEC vying for a couple positions. Plus, you've got a 2-loss Notre Dame and a 2-loss Miami team who might not be able to play for its ACC championship game. More than likely won't play for its ACC championship game, and therefore, you would have the ACC champion in Miami. So Michigan has to win this football game if they want to go to the postseason. Plus, the winner of this game gets to go to Indianapolis for a Big Ten championship opportunity. So there's a lot riding on this game for the team in maize and blue as well. So
Would they, though?
I think so.
I think Oregon still has the
I don't think so. I think Michigan does. I think this is for a Big Ten championship game. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I'm not pervy to all of that.
I actually had all the breakdown. I believe it involved Michigan or Oregon having to lose.
Okay.
Along the way.
Well, even if they don't go to the Big Ten championship game, 10-2 gets you in college football playoff if you're Michigan.
Does it?
Yeah, it does. If you're Michigan, it does. 10, you're in.
Or who are they booting? Are they booting Notre Dame then?
I definitely think they'll put Michigan over Miami. They'll have the only win over the number one team in the country, other than Ohio State over Texas at the beginning of the year. They'll have the only team in the country.
And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that the committee has proven themselves to be absolute idiots at times.
Well, yeah, but they're not dumb enough to keep a 10-2 Michigan out of the college football playoff who just beat the number one team in the country. They're not going to do it. They're going to get in. Win and they're in.
It's a moot point because they're not going to beat anybody, but that's beside the point.
Well, but one might argue if they beat us, then obviously they could beat anybody. So my point is this: there's a lot for them to play for here too. So this idea that there's no pressure on Michigan at all the pressure is on Ryan Day and Ohio State, I think is completely hogwash. There is definitely pressure on there for them.
I think it's significantly less, though, because I think this is a year ahead of where they thought they would be with Underwood.
True, but you're here.
That's true as well. I agree, but I'm just saying I think they're a year ahead of where they thought, so I think the pressure is significantly less.
Yeah, they're playing with house money, but they're in the house.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying the pressure is less on them than it is on Ohio State.
Ryan Day has a 15-game winning streak right now. No one's talking about that. This Ohio State football team is the longest winning streak in college football right now.
Yes.
No one is talking about that. This Ohio State football team has only been in one game all year that was close to the fourth quarter. That was week 1.
Yeah.
They have dominated everybody. Some argue it's because they haven't played anybody. Is it because they're just that good? And we're going to see that come Saturday.
If you ask me, that's absolutely the reason. But that's not what you'll hear from the national media. It's not what you're going to hear from the SEC. It's not what you're going to hear from the Skunk Weasel fans. It's not what you're going to hear from Cignetti. It's not what you're going to hear from Notre Dame. But that's the facts.
So if Ohio State, what number does Ohio State have to beat the Maize and Blue by in order for people to say, okay, they are who they're ranked to be?
You know what? It doesn't matter to me if they beat them by 1 point or 100 points. They are who they say they claim to be. Until somebody can beat them and prove. It's the old Ric Flair adage, Eric. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Right now, Ryan Day is the man. But
Ryan Day hasn't beat this team since 2019.
I would also say that last year he screwed the pooch. Prior to that, to use J.J. McCarthy's words, it was an uneven playing field. So I'm not putting that all on him. I'm not putting that all on him. I will say this. We know what a fickle bunch the Ohio State fan base is.
Oh, yes, we are.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if he doesn't win this game, national title be damned, people are going to be calling for him again. And I don't think it's right, but it will happen.
Let me ask you a question. Let's flip that coin on its head. Let's say he does win this game. He gets over this hump. He gets that last monkey off his back. Is he the second greatest coach in Ohio State history?
No.
Still not?
He has to have a winning record against the Skunk Weasels, and he needs that second national title.
Okay.
And that's a funny thing to say when you consider he is the winningest coach in college football history.
I was about to say, he is currently the all-time winningest coach in college football history. On a 15-game winning streak with one hurdle left to get over, with all the momentum in the world, with a hungry team.
A deep team, Eric. A
really deep team. But standing in its way is this mountain he's been unable to climb. And so it might feel like a mountain. It really is just a hurdle. I'm telling you.
He's not going to climb this mountain.
Not alone.
He's going to bulldoze his way right through it.
Oh, I thought we were going to go with a tushy pushy there. My old adage from last year that Ryan Day will get the ball to the goal line. We just need to push him across it as Buckeye fans. And we've done a good job of that this year. He has got nothing but support and love and admiration from this fan base. But I'm sure he's hearing some of the grumblings from the Chris Wilds group, who are like, "You better win it, buddy. You better win it."
I'm not saying I'd be calling for his job, Eric. But what I'm saying is, people will. People are going to question if he's the guy, national title or not, winningest coach in history or not. They're going to question if he's the guy for Ohio State if he loses this game. It's insanity.
I don't want to get into the whole, could losing this actually benefit this team for the college football playoff talk that some people nationally are kind of grumbling. We'll cross that bridge when we have to cross it. Until then, it's all about this game. So that being said, we're going to go to our awesome interview with Jerry from the Rabid Wolverine podcast. Good friend of ours, good friend of the show. You're going to love this interview. And then after that, Chris and I will be back. We'll be giving you our final predictions. And now I am joined by my good friend and the one Michigan fan I enjoy talking to. It's my man Jerry from the Rabid Wolverine. Jerry, welcome to our big Ohio State Michigan preview game, my man.
Well, I couldn't be happier to be with you, Eric. You know, we've talked about this game for about a year now, you and I.
Yeah.
And it's finally here. So as close as we've become, there are going to be 3 hours or 3.5 hours on Saturday where I don't want to hear from you. And then after that, we'll be buds again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll say this. Every year, except for last year, and I'll just leave it at that. If we have suffered an L, the person who I have spoke to before, I have congratulated them. Now, it may not have been immediate. It might have been a day. But one way or another, Jerry, you will hear from me because you're a good guy, and I really cherish our friendship. You've always been professional and very personable with me, helping me with business and everything. And so I really, really appreciate that. And I tell you, I don't know about you, I'm excited, but I'm also getting nervous. And I think that's just normal for Ohio State, Michigan fans in this thing, man.
I couldn't agree more. But before I go into full detail about why I agree with you, I do want to say this. In my life, I'm close with 3 Ohio State fans. before I met you. You're the fourth. And I got to say, I love all four of you dearly. And even if we lose, like you said, friendship before all this stuff. And I will definitely call you and say congratulations and wish you and your Bucks the best.
I appreciate that, Jerry. There's a lot on the line here, man. There's a
Yeah.
lot on the line in this game. Michigan's playing for the opportunity to get to be the fourth team from the Big Ten in the college football playoff. Ohio State's playing for that perfect season right now, still a chance to get to the Big Ten championship game to play Indiana. And then, of course, to keep the bye alive in the college football playoff. What's the vibe? What's the pulse? What's the fan base there with Michigan talking about going into this game when it's surrounding the big picture?
All right. I'm going to give you a almost long-winded answer here. First, the stress level is always high, and you and I talked about this in the past. That run when the Buckeyes were just beating Michigan every year really put post-traumatic stress syndrome on me. And so for the last 4 years, I haven't been able to enjoy the game because I thought it was going to end the opposite way. I still always have that feeling. I'm still like ruined by that. So with that being said, in regards to the game, I think Michigan fans, when you look at a lot of the chat areas, there are some that will say, "Hey, we don't have a chance," right? But I think over the last 4 years, everybody said we didn't have a chance last year, and we ended up winning. So I think there's a lot of, "Hey, we'll figure it out for Ohio, and we will." We'll play our best against Ohio, and we have a chance. We can run the ball. We can play tough defense. So I think that's what the fan base is saying. I sort of have a different view, and it's not just from my being scarred over that run. You know, I thought this year we were going to finish 9-3, and I still think we're going to finish 9-3. I think this game would be a tall task for the Wolverines to win. I think Ohio State is playing at an elite level right now. I think Michigan probably played their best football against Washington and Maryland this year. Those were probably the two most impressive games they had. Um, but it's almost like what team shows up. Is it going to be the team that Oklahoma and USC bullied, or is it going to be a team that showed up that bullied other teams on the line of scrimmage? And I just know that if Tate and Smith are playing, it's going to be a tall task. Um, Underwood's going to have to play great. They're going to have to really dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Um, and hopefully Coach Wink doesn't blitz every play and leave those corners and D backs one on one with your talented wide receivers.
You brought up some of the inconsistencies in your season there. I want to touch on that a little bit because let's go way back to August when we last spoke about you and I spoke concerning the Michigan football team, and we talked about Underwood, and we said he's a true freshman. True freshmen don't walk in out of high school and you just expect them to be all Americans. There's going to be some ups, there's going to be some downs. And I feel like that's exactly what we experienced this season from him. I want you to touch a little bit on that and maybe where you think he is at in his development right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to say there. So I think it's obvious when you watch him, the talent level is there. Nobody can question that he has the talent. It's just every now and then he makes a bonehead throw. He doesn't always take heat off of every toss. Like he's a great he has the arm strength. He can zip it, but sometimes when he doesn't have to zip it, he zips it when the person's 5 yards away, right? And they drop it. Um, so I think in terms of development, he has shown flashes of brilliance. He has also shown those freshman hiccups and those plays where you're like, oh man, what did you do? He fumbled, two turnovers inside the red zone against I forget if it was Purdue or Northwestern. I think it was Purdue. Um, so in terms of development, like if he plays the way he played this week against Maryland, we're gonna be okay. But I will say it's not all of the hiccups weren't on Bryce Underwood. There was a point in the season where our offensive line, just so many injuries, and it was a makeshift offensive line, and they weren't run blocking, they weren't pass blocking. Against Oklahoma, against USC, he had people in his face all day long. And so that piece isn't on him. And then I got to tell you that, his completion percentage is down, but I don't think anybody has as many drops in college football as Michigan, right? And, thankfully I think it looks like they went away from Samaj Morgan, but the receivers were not catching the ball. And now that he sort of found his connection with Andrew Marsh,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when those two are connecting, they look special. And I think there was a stat that blew my mind. From the time that Marsh became the every down starter, like when he was firmly in the lineup until now, he actually leads called I can't remember if it's college football or the Big Ten in receiving yards, which was shocking given your team's superstars at that position, right? But again, that's not the whole season. I want to make it clear. I don't want all your fans like land based. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just from that point. I think it was like the third or fourth game in the season where he really took over, that starting role. But he's been a superstar, and I think that's helped Underwood tremendously. The other thing is with his development that concerns me somewhat is Chip Lindsey and the way he's been running the offense. Now, a lot of people rave about Chip Lindsey. I'm not one of those people. Like, I think this was the year to let him take his lumps and learn how to play the position, right? And let him open it up, let him throw the ball, let him use his feet. But it seemed like they put the wrappers on him using his legs because they were afraid he would get injured. And, that was a little concerning. Uh, and given that they, before the season, they were talking about opening up the offense, having it be power football with explosive plays. But then for, the first 3 or 4 games in the season, they're throwing the ball 5 yards again or at the line of scrimmage instead of down the field. And so I think that hampered them to some degree, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
because, especially against the weaker teams, let them throw the ball around and really learn the position at the college level rather than just the high school level, right?
Right.
And get that experience and take the lumps against the teams that you can overcome those turnovers with if they were there. So I still think the sky's the ceiling for him, and it's going to be interesting over the next few years. I mean, I know you guys have been recruiting at a super high level. I think Michigan's been recruiting at a high level. Um, both schools are getting some real talent, and I think it's going to be a pretty good rivalry moving forward. This year, I'm going to say you guys may have the advantage, but I'm not losing faith, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, although you should pick Ohio State. The last 4 years, the person on here has picked Ohio State, and then Michigan wins. So
I
I
am
mean,
picking Ohio State, and if I had to bet
oh
my house,
Jerry,
if I had to bet my house, I would give the points too. But
oh,
I don't think that's official, and I'll tell you why.
okay.
I think we still have a chance.
All right, we'll get to that in just a minute. I want to talk about your running back situation here. I guess it's very comparable to Ohio State's wide receiver situation. Carnell Tate went down 3 weeks ago, hasn't been back since. Jeremiah Smith went down in the first quarter 2 weeks ago, hasn't been back since. There's variable reports on we might get one back, we might get both back, both might not play. I mean, it depends who you talk to from day to day. And Ryan Day has never changed his answer from day number one. It's a day to day. I will lean on the medical staff and do what they tell me to do. I think we might hear more tomorrow. As we record this on Tuesday, we might know more tomorrow because of practice that they had today. We'll see what the reports are. But from your perspective, with your running backs, where are you guys at currently, and what is the expectations going into this one?
So we start with Justice Hayes. I mean, that guy was a workhorse before he got injured. I mean, he was leading the country in rushing yards, or one of the top. He was scored 2 touchdowns every game. I mean, he was so explosive, but he also had the power to run over you. And when he went down, there was some real concern. But I think when you look at Jordan Marshall backing him up, I mean, that guy's still a top end talent. He could start for a lot of teams in college football. He's strong, he's powerful. He doesn't have the breakaway speed like Hayes has, but he still has 3 or 4 runs of 40, 50 yards, I believe. Um, so he still can break it. It's just he's not as fast or as shifty as Haynes, but he's a beast. Now he got hurt on a play that looked so innocent, like you wouldn't even know he got hurt on it. And their third string running back came in, Cutzall, and he was a walk on. And
Mm.
I hope Michigan's able to actually keep him next year because he's showing some real speed. And in the 2 appearances that he's made, he looked really good. Now, granted, it was against Maryland, but you can see the burst with him. I'm a little concerned that he doesn't hold on to the football in 2 games. He put the ball on the ground twice. One was called back that he was down. The other one was actually a fumble at the near the end of the game. It almost cost them the game, in fact. Um, so I am a little concerned with that. The expectation, I believe, from what I've heard and read, is that Jordan Marshall should be a go. And as good as I think Cutzall is, I think we really need Marshall in this game. We need because look, I mean, Ohio State's defense is top notch, right? Even as a Michigan fan, I can acknowledge excellence when I see it. And your defense is top notch, and we are going to need a back like Jordan Marshall. Haynes is out. Hopefully Marshall really is a go. That's the word that he will be, but hopefully he doesn't go in for a couple plays like a couple years ago when Blake Corum left the game right away. Hopefully it's not that type of situation. So we're going to need him. I think the difference though between Ohio State's injuries at wideout and Michigan's injuries at running back is, I mean, you guys have 4 and 5 stars all the way back on your wide receiving room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they don't all have the experience, but they definitely have a lot of talent. After after our third string Cutzall, the next guy's Jazz. I can't remember his first name, but Parker, and he's a freshman. He looks like he's pretty fast, but I mean, he has no playing time. A few handoffs and mop up time. So if something would happen where Cutzall went out and Marshall, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. I don't know. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. Let's talk about Sharon Moore now. Um, After last season, you got some. It felt like some of the Michigan fans were ready already move on. He wasn't Harbaugh. Harbaugh handed him the keys to the kingdom and kind of dropped the ball. But first year head coach. You said it yourself. Expectations were 9-3. He's sitting at 9-2 right now. Second year, I go ahead and give him those wins in those 2 games. Or he didn't coach in or whatever. Um, where is he at right now with the fan base? Is this kind of a let's see how this goes, or is this a because listen, I know Michigan fans are just like Ohio State fans, dude. You lose this game, and people are going to start saying things.
All right. So I don't know if you remember back at the beginning of the year when you and I were talking, I
Yeah.
think you asked me, what my opinion on him was. And I
Uh
said,
huh.
we're going to wait until the end of the season. So the end of the season's basically here in my opinion.
Right.
If he wins this game, it will be huge. I just think that, I guess at this point of the season, I think he's done great at recruiting. I think he was really instrumental in the recruiting process. I think he was instrumental in Bryce Underwood coming to Michigan, and some of the talent that we did get uh, and are getting. So I can't knock him on that part. But in-game coaching, game planning, he hasn't really impressed me. And I just think a school like Michigan should have better. And I'm not trying to knock the guy. Like, I think he's a good coach, but when I am petrified that if we don't have the right people coaching, Underwood will leave. And I'm not starting a rumor. There's nothing about that going on out there as far as I know. But I just think like we need somebody that I don't even care if they're a CEO. It just doesn't seem like our offense has an identity. And people are going to say, what do you mean? We run the ball. We run the ball. Everybody talks about how we run the ball. But from my point of view, when we run the ball, we have a few big bangs each game that add up those yardage instead of that consistent 4, 5, 6 yards a pop,
Hmm.
right? And I think when you look back at the Harbaugh teams and they talked about us running the ball, it was hand the ball off 4 yards, move the pile, get 5 or 6. Hand the ball off, get 6 yards, move the pile, get 10. Right? And I see a difference between this year and those years. Um, we get a lot of yardage, but some of those are because we have big pops every game, and we do. Um, but other times we're just not getting the movement, and so I put some of that on him and on the other coaches in our program. Um, and I hope it's not more that is holding Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, from calling the type of game that I thought he would be calling, right? And and again, I'm not inside the walls, but I just have to wonder: is he like putting handcuffs on him and making him call a certain type of game instead of like letting the offense loose? So
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, don't feel bad if the fan base wants him fired. We literally tried to fire Ryan Day last year, and he won a national championship. So, I mean, it's
yeah,
it goes with the rivalry, right? I mean, come on.
yeah, but even if we would win this game, like I'm not sold on him as our coach
Oh,
from
okay.
the way the season went. Like, look, I thought they would go 93. They probably are going to go 93. And we have such a young team. I'm actually okay with that this year. But to watch what I've watched over the season makes me say we should be doing better. The record may be 9-3, but the product doesn't look like what I expect it to look like given the talent level that we have. Does that make
Makes
sense?
sense. Yeah, it does. That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. All right. Before we get into our predictions for this game, I want to ask you just a couple more big picture things.
Mhm.
Um, what does, in your opinion, what does this rivalry mean to you, and what do you think it means to our fan bases when you have this game? Because I think a lot of college football doesn't understand. Like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you guys hate each other. It's a big rivalry. We've got the Iron Bowl, or we've got the Egg Bowl, or whatever, the Civil War if you're in Oregon, or whatever. I don't think people really realize what this means to people.
Yeah, I think for Michigan and Ohio State fans, I think for the players, for the coaches, the alumni of the schools, this game means everything, right? Because in my mind, like from my point of view, yeah, I still have to go to work on Tuesday after the game's played on Saturday or Monday. Um, but oh my God, my friends that are Ohio State fans, I won't stop hearing it from them all year. And to me, that's painful, right? Um, in just there's a lot of mudslinging between both fan bases, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
funny because we'll accuse each other of the same things, like the
Oh
fans.
yeah.
Like you guys were saying we're arrogant, we're egotistical, we're unreal, and then we'll say the same stuff about Ohio State fans, and it's like we all act the same way. Um, so that part's funny,
So
but it's
true.
true. Um, I think for the players, I mean, so many of these kids played together before even going to
Hmm.
college. And I think that battle is real. especially in some of these recruiting situations where maybe it's down to one or two schools and it's Michigan and Ohio State, and then the player picks one or the other. Um, and then just the history, right? The history of the rivalry and all the games. I mean, yeah, there were some blowouts here and there, but we could probably, between the two of us, without even looking, we could probably talk about 20 incredible games or something that happened in those games that was magical, right, for either program.
Hmm.
And so I think it's super intense. That goes without saying. But for me, it's just like, oh my God, like it's almost to the point where I don't enjoy watching the game anymore because I just don't want a loss, right? And I told you, I got used to losing for that spurt between 2006 to 2021, or 20 or 19 would have been the last one. Um, I got used to it, right? So sometimes it would even be background noise. Like I was just like, yeah, okay, I watched the first half and okay, it's on, but I'm not into it anymore because it's over. But the last 4 years sort of like spoiled me. And now I'm like, maybe we have a chance. Maybe we have a chance. I can't wait until it's over. As much as I can't wait for it to come, I can't wait until it's over because the stress during the game is unbearable.
It's unique, isn't it?
I- Back in 2021, you guys, there were probably 7 minutes left, and I forget how many points we were up by. And I'm like, no, we're going to find a way to lose this game because you guys were able to score so quickly back. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
such an explosive offense. I was like, he only needs a couple minutes to put up 2 touchdowns. And my friends are like, you're crazy. But that's what I felt after that losing streak.
Hmm.
Um, but I can't wait, but I also can't wait for it to be over.
It makes sense. It makes sense. My co-host Chris went into. He did a great video, kind of kicking off what we passionately call Hate Week, and talking about how this rivalry goes all the way back to the Battle of Toledo between the Michigan and Ohio militias. A war fought between two states, literally, over a piece of land that now none of us actually want to claim.
Isn't that
Sorry.
typical of us, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One shot fired, no one was hurt, killed, but yet it sparked this hatred between these two schools all these years later. And of course, we love to poke fun of the fact that Michigan has so many wins against the YMCA. And my favorite is when they beat back in, I think it's the late 1800s, or it might be even in like the early 1900s. Michigan beat Ann Arbor High School, and they count that as a win. I love that one. But it's funny. Ohio State's got the same stuff in it
Yeah,
early
Ohio
on, and
State, though, they tell us we have an asterisk when we don't, but they do.
oh,
Right?
here we go. It didn't take
So
you
it
long,
goes
Jerry.
both ways. But I will tell you, here's an interesting history fact.
Sure.
And oh my God, I can't think of the player now. So he was one of Michigan's greats, and his name just slipped my mind literally. But he was the quarterback and running back, and a game against Michigan. I mean, I'm going back, right? Michigan beat Ohio State like 49-0. But this guy, I can't remember the exact stats. He had like 3 touchdown throws or 2 runs. He also kicked all the extra points. He had X amount of yards punting the ball, and he also had like 2 picks or something. Um,
It's stuff in the stat
oh
sheet
my,
there, man.
I can't even think. I can't believe I can't remember his name. But get this: at the end of the game, all of the Ohio State fans stood up and gave him a standing applause. Can you ever see that happening
No,
today?
not now. No way.
But I mean, it's just so how dramatically it has shifted, right? We've always hated each other, but back then there was still some of that cordialness, right?
Yeah,
Like the way you and I have with each other. But today, that would never happen where either team would
yeah.
get a standing ovation for how they played on the game.
So, one more question here, and then we'll get into our your prediction for the game. So, some news is broke that the University of Michigan and USC are they don't like this whole idea of there being an investor, And Michigan has been very vocal about the fact that they're willing to leave the Big Ten. This is not the first time Michigan has left the Big Ten. They actually left before, one time before, for a small period of time. Um, I want your opinion on it. Not necessarily what you're experiencing or everything, news wise, but I just want your opinion on that.
Yeah. So here's what I would say, and I don't know the ins and outs of the deal, but I think it's over a 20-year period.
Hmm.
The California Pension Fund, I believe it's the California Pension Fund, would get a 10% ownership in the Big Ten, right? And so all of the teams are basically taking the upfront money for that 10% over those 20 years. So, people like you and I aren't in the rooms. We're not seeing the numbers, but it's interesting because the Big Ten academically, I mean, it's one of the best conferences, right? Academic. I don't
Absolutely.
know if any conference is more academically based than the
Ivy
Big Ten.
League,
Yeah.
I
Well, the
guess. Yeah.
Ivy League, but I'm talking,
Yeah. Power four. No,
yeah.
it's not even
And,
close.
and there are some really high end schools that compete with the Ivy League in the Big Ten too,
Hmm.
right? In terms of academics. So I'm sure every school has their brain trust analyzing the numbers. And I would venture to say that they would also have investment bankers analyze. I mean, those investment bankers are woven through all of that, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm assuming that Michigan and USC, their bankers and the people that are analyzing their numbers are saying this is not a good deal because we can grow that revenue more than the present value of that lump sum
Hmm.
today over those 20 years. So I think that one person on Michigan's Board of Regents is the one that said we would leave. I don't know that that was a unanimous piece. Um, but the two dogs in the Big Ten are Ohio State and Michigan State. Or Michigan State. Michigan, how could I ever say Michigan State there? Ohio
I
State and
I
Michigan.
was wondering if you're gonna let that slide.
Yeah, I can't ever say Michigan State. Um, and I think that would actually hurt the Big Ten if a program like Michigan left, especially given that they are one of the staples in the Big Ten. I just don't really see that happening. And if they did leave, I don't think they would go independent. They would probably go to the SEC. But from my understanding, it's not going to happen anyway because the Big Ten has already said that they want a unanimous vote. Like they want every school to agree to the deal or they won't do it. At least that's my understanding. So if that's the case, it's not going to happen. Like that push area isn't going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand when they look at it is I think that a lot of these universities are looking at this as a way to try to save their Olympic sports.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
non-revenue generating sports that they're afraid they're going to have to cut in order to continue to fund um, the payments that are going to be coming to the athletes through the universities. So, you know, for those of us who are diehard football fans, it's like let them go. But I don't. What do I care about the rowing team or the fencing team, or until you have a kid who's on the rowing team or the fencing team, and then you're like,
And not only
yeah.
that, when you watch the Olympics and you see somebody from Ohio State or Michigan or
Oh, there's
Penn
pride
State,
there.
um, and all a lot of them are from the Big Ten. You
Yeah,
know,
especially now that UCLA and USC,
yeah,
because if you look at a lot of the summer sports, volleyball, track and field with Oregon, and now that we have those four teams from the West Coast in the Big Ten, I would venture to say 75% of our Olympians are from the Big Ten now.
yeah, I would agree with you. And when it comes, everything's always about the money. Unfortunately, in today's world, all of it, everything's about the money instead of necessarily what's right, what's wrong, and so forth. But I do wonder, though. The schools, they have such big donors, they have such big endowments, and like we don't see their books, but where does all the money go? Seriously, because all the schools have big alumni writing checks. They all have endowments. So $20 million, or whatever they're paying, $20.5 million, that should not cause them to just start cutting programs. But that's what they're claiming, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're all claiming that it's tight. Where does all the money go?
It's all them
And
contracts, man. I mean, when you're paying LSU's paying Brian Kelly $53 million to just leave and then turn right around and try to and then offer a $90 million contract to Lane Kiffin. I mean, you do the math. That's a lot of money, obviously.
well, that goes back to like what you said. But if it's your kid's sport getting cut,
Yeah.
you're like, what the hell? How? Literally, if Michigan would cut a sport because they don't have the funds because of nil and the $20.5 million, I would literally be like, what? I hope the alumni don't write any more checks because
Mm.
that is ridiculous for them not to be able to find that money in the budget.
All right, Jerry, we've entered the end of this conversation interview. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. But all right, buddy, it's time for you to give me your prediction for this game.
All right, I'm going to
And
give you my Michigan fan prediction first.
oh, okay, we got two of them. Got it.
Yeah, we got two here. So, yeah, we're going to win 5 in a row, baby. Ryan Day can't coach against Michigan. It's in his head. We are going to win. We're going to run the ball and we're going to win. Now, my that's what my heart says. My head says I think Michigan has the biggest challenge of the year. As big as the challenge was last year, even though Michigan's better than last year, I think this year's challenge is even steeper. I'm surprised the line actually isn't more. Um, again, just because I've seen the inconsistency with Michigan. So, gosh, it pains me to say it, but if I had to bet my house, like I said, I would take the Buckeyes laying the points. Um, but I think Michigan, there is that slim chance, right? I think
Sure.
FPI gave them a 78% chance to lose. Ohio State 78% chance to win. So that 22%, I think, is going to come down to if Derek Moore on the end of our defensive line and Barham, if they can have monstrous games when rushing the passer, that is going to be enormous. And if Michigan can actually get movement on the offensive line and move some of Ohio State's front seven, which is going to be a big challenge because they couldn't do it against Oklahoma and they couldn't do it against USC. But if they can do that and establish the run, maybe that will open up some things for Bryce Underwood to make some passes to Marsh and their tight ends and McCulley. And maybe somehow we can pull off an upset. And again, I'm assuming Tate and Smith are going to play. If they don't play, I think we have much more, I think it evens out a little bit more. If those guys are in, we're climbing a mountain. So I think it's, it may be tight at the beginning. I don't know if it will finish that way, but if Michigan does win, I'll be crowing. But I'm just not expecting it. What about you?
I would expect you to do so, right? So your feelings about from 2001 to 2019 was my childhood in the 90s. I never go into this game overly confident. Last year was about as confident as I have been in a long time, and I remember walking out of that stadium, uh, having watched it in person, and saying to myself, "This is the lowest I've ever been as a Ohio State fan." So I need to see Ryan Day redeem himself. Ryan Day's done everything as an Ohio State football coach you could ask him to do, except for one thing. He's lost 4 in a row, and that is very Cooper like, right? And I to this day attest that if John Cooper would have had this playoff system in the 90s, Ohio State would have had another title or two, because he had the best teams in college football in 96, 98. It wasn't even close. And
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
yeah,
interrupt. I
yeah,
was going to say, even
96.
for Ohio State last year, right?
Yeah,
If it was the old playoff system, they wouldn't have been in.
we wouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
So, Ryan Day obviously is a recipient of that change. And, He has the best winning percentage in college football history currently, which is insane to say. But the one blemish he has is this game. And I am very intrigued to find out if he is going to pucker up again or if he has learned his lesson and he is going to be the aggressor in this football game. Um, if he is the aggressor, I think Ohio State wins this thing by a couple scores. If he puckers, I think we lose. Because I then think it becomes a mental game for him, and the players will feed off of that. They will see that, they will their confidence level will go down, and they will feel that from him. So if you're asking me, I think the first 15 minutes of this football game, a lot of coaches talk about the middle 8. For me, it's the first 8 of this football game. It's the first half of the first quarter. That'll tell me everything I need to know about this Ohio State team going into this game. And
Interesting.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Obviously, I'll give my prediction at the end of this program for everybody. It's what we do. But, obviously, I'm going to say Ohio State wins. I mean, I'm running an Ohio State podcast. Why would I go against my own brand here? But that's where I'm at in my mental space right now, Jerry, is the first 8 minutes of that football game will tell me everything I need to know for how this game is going to go. And I'm not necessarily meaning what's on the scoreboard. I just want to see his aggression. If
Mhm.
he's aggressive, if the offense looks aggressive, I'm not worried about the defense. I know the defense will be fine, but I need to see his demeanor on the sideline. And if he's got that deer in the headlight look again,
You know, when you talk about pressure, he's under it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, the it's funny to say because Ohio State is the number one ranked team. They are the team that's been steamrolling everyone. They just won the Natty, but all the pressure is actually on Ryan Day,
mm-hmm.
right? In
In this
this
game, yeah,
matchup, yeah.
yeah,
Um, so I think it is interesting how it's going to play out, but again, I'm talking from a football fan, not a Michigan fan right now.
mm-hmm.
I just think like after they lost last year and he was like, let it rip. If they go with that demeanor, yeah, there's
Yeah.
no way that Ohio State should lose the game.
And all
Uh,
season long, even though they've been kind of NFL light in their approach, hey, we're not going to try to push the envelope. We're happy running 60 plays a game and being efficient and winning this game 28-11 or 35-6 or whatever. It's like, okay. Uh, but
yeah,
he's been aggressive.
they're getting in the mud a little more, right?
Yeah, but he's been aggressive still in his play calling
Yeah,
at times. You
it's going to
know,
be interesting. Can I
yeah,
ask one question to
sure.
you as the Ohio State fan? So I keep seeing this go around, and it blows my mind that it's a question. So, national championship
Hmm.
or beat Michigan? Because I'll
Hmm.
take a loss to Ohio State every year if we won the national championship.
Hmm. It is a mindset that is really hard for this fan base to move past because it was ingrained into our fathers and our forefathers that this game meant everything because of Woody Hayes. Woody,
And you couldn't win the Natty unless you won this game.
right. Last year was the first time ever that the team that lost this game went on to win something of
Yeah.
significant value. So it was kind of foreign to everybody, right? Um, so yeah, it's the new era in which we live in college football. Imagine getting to this game or the Big Ten championship game in a week, and the starters sit. Like
Yeah.
that's wild to think about, but in the NFL, there's no such thing as a conference championship game, right? Like you either win your conference or you don't, and you get to bye. It's all about the playoffs. And Ryan Day's approach is very similar to that, but he obviously is adapted to the college game and tried to mix the two. And it's worked out very well for him. But yeah, I think that stems from just the mindset that this fan base is trying to adjust to that the value of this game is different. I won't say that it's less.
It
The
is
value of the
different.
game it's just different now.
Yeah.
And there's a tomorrow. It's not the world ends today and you've got to wait until the end of August to play your next game that matters. Or you go to a bowl game and it's insignificant and everybody's pissed off that you're there. Cotton Bowl a few years ago, right, with Ohio State where we lost to Missouri. No one even cared. You live to the playoffs start then, or
Well, it's funny because Michigan's been fighting for the playoffs ever since they lost to USC, right? So
right,
every game's been a playoff game
you're
because
right.
if they lose, they're done.
Yeah.
So there is
Michigan is
still
very
some
similar to the
significance for this game for us, but for you guys, it almost doesn't really mean anything other than for bragging rights and pride, right? But if you guys would win the Natty again and lose this game, you know, all the fans from my school will be saying, "Yeah, but you still can't beat us,"
yeah,
right?
and we're all going to be like, we don't care, but in our hearts we care.
Yeah, of course. We all care. We all
so,
care.
so it's unique, and at some point I'm sure the shoe will be on the other foot, and and all of that. But Jerry, this has been a fantastic conversation, my man. We went way over the time I thought we would. I appreciate you so much taking the time to do so with me, my man. And as much as you can, Jerry, enjoy the game.
Yeah, you do the same and go blue. And Eric, you and your fan base, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
You as well, Jerry. Thank you so much, my man.
All right. Take care. Bye.
And thank you, Jerry, from the Rabid Wolverine. We appreciate you coming on, shooting the breeze with us, man, and being a part of this big preview, Ohio State versus the team up north. All right, Chris, it's that time of show where we have to sit down and give our predictions. I will go first, and then I will give the floor over to you. I've been pretty close this year in engaging where the score will be. I've not been exact, but I've been very close almost every game on where the opponent is and where we are. And at least on the scoreboard. And after watching and maybe it's not good that I've watched this team a lot that we're playing as opposed to usually the opponents we play. I maybe have watched one or two games and a lot of highlights, right? So maybe I know too much, and that's part of the problem in the past with predicting these games. I don't know, but I feel like Ohio State is going to maybe not score as much as we would like them to score, but will score enough to be comfortable in the fourth quarter. I think the team up north is going to find scoring against this defense to be difficult. I think Underwood, although he has improved this season, and there's been a lot of people talk about they've seen the improvement, he's not faced a defense like this yet. If Ohio State makes them one-dimensional and they do not give up a big run, meaning a big touchdown run, I think they're going to keep them, for the most part, out of the end zone and force them to kick field goals. Now, a year ago, we would have said, hey, they're only going to score 13 points. We would have said, oh, we're going to win that game. Didn't happen a year ago in our house. It'll happen this year. I think Ohio State wins this game 24-13. And I think Ohio State is going to put that 24th point on there with a field goal at the end of the game to put it away, to feel good about things. I think they're going to be I think he's going to be efficient. I think they're going to be careful with the football. They're not going to beat themselves this game. Ryan Day is going to be the Ryan Day that we've seen for the most part this season. Very comfortable in a one-score game. But he will be aggressive enough in this game to allow this team to win comfortably in the end, 24-13. to 13.
I've heard what you've said. I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but I have to think you might be just a little bit crazy to think that Ryan Day doesn't want to put a few extra on the scoreboard against these guys. These guys chickened out in 2020. They cheated for 3 years, and then he basically blew it with his game plan last year. And he knows that. I think he wants vengeance. Now, do I think we're going to hang 100 on him? Absolutely not. But this is what I think. I think you're right about being comfortable in the fourth quarter. I think you're comfortable to the point where our starters aren't even in the fourth quarter. I think that we go out there and we get up early. I think, as you said, Michigan's going to have a very, very hard time scoring on this Ohio State offense. I think that Bryce Underwood is going to make freshman mistakes, and there's no shame in that because he's a freshman. But he's not going to know what to do against this defense. I really look for Ohio State, and this is going to be my hot take for the game. Ohio State is going to win the turnover battle on this one. I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's 38-10 Ohio State. And I really feel like at least one of those touchdowns is a defensive touchdown.
Well, Chris, you're the second person on this show who's predicted that score already.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's the same score Sean had.
Well, great minds think alike.
I guess so. So, yeah, I'm good with it. I'll be very happy if that happens. I'll be dancing over there at Baker's. People will be having their cell phones out, recording the Podfather, getting jiggy with it. At
Mark
the end of
may
that
jump
game.
up on a table and dance shirtless. Who knows?
No, I doubt that'll happen. Bakers would not like for their tables to be broken. But we will have a excuse me, we will have a good time nonetheless at Baker's, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Of course, let us know what you think about what we think down in the comment section below. Give us your score prediction as well. What do you have a crazy prediction? Chris says we're going to win the turnover battle. That's not that crazy, but Chris says we win the turnover battle. Do you have a prediction like that? Do we maybe sack Underwood 5 times or more, something like that? Give us a crazy prediction or a wild prediction, however you want to word it. We would love to see what everyone says there as well. And of course, again, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate each and every single one of you who've done that. And finally, consider joining our Patreon. Not much time left. $1 this week. For the first month, you can be a member for $1. You don't like it? Leave. But I'm promising you, you're going to like it. No one's left yet. Everybody who's joined absolutely loves being a part of our Patreon community. We're calling it the 1,000 Buckeye Club. That's what our goal is to get 1,000 Buckeye fans who love Ohio State, who love our community, all together and a part of our Patreon. We might even cap it at 1,000 because of how intimate we want the setting. We're doing some crazy things over there, some wild things that no other website does with their pay-forward content.
And we don't want everybody to have all our insider tips, Eric. Come on.
I know, exactly. We've got the best insider in the game. We have the insider of insiders.
Yes.
The insider who the insiders get their information from, used to get their information from. Yeah, that's right. He's with us. We've got Mika, the best up-and-coming recruiting analyst in the business for Ohio State. She's with us. You got us too, crazy fans, obviously. We've got Nate, who just joined with us, breaking down film. We've got Buckeye Bart. We've got Corey. We've got
Alex.
TG,
the Wolverine Slayer.
Sean Shockstar. They're all over there. Hang out with us, guys. We'd love to have you. And some big news coming as well. So if you're a fan of the OHIO podcast, some things are really happening. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys. Till next time, you all know what to do. Be kind to one another, unless they're wearing maize and blue. I owe someone's OH. And sing Carmen, Ohio with all your heart. Chris, till next time. OH!
Oh,
Go Bucks.
Michigan
Beat
sucks.
the scum.